Hi, folks. Today we are delving into the 1960s. This is part one of two dealing with the 1960s, a decade of incredible transformation in popular music. We are going to focus in on two areas, on the British invasion and on the advent of soul. So the British invasion is the groups coming over from England, basically jumping in on the American scene, having been listening to a lot of music coming from American blues bands. And one of the major bands that we would look at is the Beatles. So we're going to explore the Beatles. Here is a band that I would say is really epitomizes the axiom that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Meaning, as a band, they're really, really incredible. Individually, they're all incredible musicians and artists, but when you put them together, you really get something special. Now, I would add to this that part of what really made their popularity is that they are coming after the 1950s, when, as we learned, teenagers became a very important source of revenue for the popular music industry. In other words, teenagers became buyers of music and going to concerts. And this, of course, scared a lot of parents in the 1950s, but it led to a opportunity in the 1960s for a lot of growth in popular music, especially on the business side. Second thing that I would say about the Beatles is that they're also riding on the fumes, if you will, or the advances in popular music in terms of focusing on visual culture. What do I mean by that? Well, Elvis really took the world by storm, right? How did he take America by storm? Because of the appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. On the Milton Berle Show, and then the Ed Sullivan Show. But television beamed Elvis into everybody's living room. All of a sudden, these teenagers could not be shielded from Elvis. So when the 60s come around, you get your first boy band, which is the Beatles, that are inspiring young teenagers all over the place, and they are coming to everybody's homes through the Ed Sullivan Show, which is where they first appeared. And of course, from there on, people could go to more concerts, people could see them on television, more radio was around, so now that really brought them to the fore. Let's turn our attention to soul and the growth of soul. Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, these are two major figures in soul. Ray Charles, a bit controversial because he really brings a background in gospel music and jazz together with what we might think of as love songs and dance tunes. This creates a bit of a tension, but boy is it popular. Aretha Franklin, female artist, super strong businesswoman of her own and independent. That is groundbreaking. Then we have to add to this mix James Brown. James Brown is one of the most important figures in American popular music for two reasons I'm going to point you to. Number one, again, that visual culture element. Who is James Brown without all those incredible dance moves? We're going to check some of that stuff out this week. He sets the stage for the performing artist to really put on a show. And so dancing becomes a very important part of popular music performance ever since then. Think about all the pop music that we check out today and how much dance routines are important. Certainly Michael Jackson, who is a more familiar modern character, points to James Brown as major influence. The second thing about James Brown is that he comes about at a time of a growing sense of black nationalism and black pride in America. This is indicated by African Americans looking for cultural icons in the form of everything from art and music to fashion to growing their hair into afros to wearing African medallions and dashikis and connecting with Africa. James Brown, he does this through music, because recordings are now available in the 1960s that he can access and listen. Videos, are accessible. Hell, Africa's accessible. You can jump on a plane and go visit. This is very, very impactful for African American artists in America, and he becomes an icon of black pride, and as somebody who's bringing more of an African sensibility to his music. How so? Because he creates layered music with riffs. Listen to the guitar, repeat the same thing. Listen to the drummer, repeat the same thing. Listen to the horn players repeating their riffs. And on top of it all is James Brown, who's throwing in different stuff. And he doesn't have an incredible voice. He's certainly not known for his singing like an Aretha Franklin. No, he's known for his energy and for his band leading. So, as we look into these different styles of the 1960s, do poke around. Watch, of course, the videos that I've posted, do the readings and all that good stuff, but also go a little further on your own. See what I'm saying and see if you can put it into context with other stuff that you check out. Okay? Happy listening, 1960s. And we'll be here this week and next week in the 1960s.